Dr. Zaravin had analyzed genetic samples from 847 different species across the Galactic Union. She'd sequenced DNA from beings made of silicon, creatures that lived in gas giants, even a species that existed partially in subspace. But she'd never seen anything like the human sitting in her laboratory, bleeding green. "This is impossible," she muttered, her three eyes fixed on the holographic display. Kai Morrison held a cloth to the gash on his arm from the loading dock accident, watching the crimson blood slowly shift to an iridescent green as it oxidized. "Yeah, I've been hearing them my whole life. Doctors on Earth couldn't figure out either. That's why I left. Your DNA doesn't match any known classification. It's like looking at a genetic cipher. Parts are recognizably human, but there are sequences that shouldn't exist. Shouldn't be possible." Zaravin's antennae twitched in agitation. "And your blood, it's changing color based on atmospheric exposure. That's a trait found only in extinct species." "How extinct are we talking?" Zaravin pulled up her database, fingers flying across the interface. "There's a paleontological archive from Earth, actually. Scientists found fossilized remains in your world's geological strata. Massive creatures, winged, with similar adaptive blood chemistry. Your people called them dragons." Kai's voice was flat. "You're saying I'm related to dragons. I'm saying your DNA contains genetic markers identical to those extracted from a 65-million-year-old fossil. Markers that appear nowhere else in the human genome." She looked at him with new interest. "Mr. Morrison, have you experienced any unusual symptoms? Heightened senses? Temperature regulation anomalies? Aggressive territorial behavior?" Kai laughed bitterly. "Doc, I've been running from unusual symptoms my whole life. I can see thermal signatures. I don't get cold, even in vacuum exposure longer than I should survive. And when I get angry..." He trailed off, remembering the bar fight on Titan Station where he'd accidentally melted a man's weapon with his bare hands. "When you get angry, sidav impromptiv. Things get hot, really hot." The doctor's display chimed. New data scrolled across the screen, and her three eyes widened simultaneously. "Oh, ancestors, your genetic code isn't just similar to the dragon fossils. It's a direct match to a specific specimen. The last one." She pulled up an image, a massive skeletal structure, excavated from what had been northern China, remarkably preserved in volcanic ash. The placard identified it as the largest dragon fossil ever found, dated to the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. "The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs," Zaravin said softly. "Most of Earth's megafauna died. But this one, according to the geological analysis, it survived the initial impact. It lived for years afterward in the volcanic wasteland. So, it had time to do something remarkable." She highlighted a section of data. "Retroviruses. Your ancestor, and I mean that literally, infected itself with custom-engineered retroviruses designed to integrate its genetic material into smaller species. Mammals, the early primates that would eventually evolve into humans." Kai felt his blood pressure rising, literally heating his veins. "You're telling me a dragon turned itself into a virus and infected my ancestors? Not a virus, a gift." Zaravin's voice carried genuine awe. "Dragons were intelligent, Mr. Morrison. The fossil records suggest tool use, possibly even language. This one was dying on a ruined world, and it chose to ensure its species didn't end. It seeded its genome into survivors, a genetic time capsule that would activate under specific conditions." "What conditions?" "Stress, danger, survival imperatives." She met his eyes. "Your DNA has been dormant for 65 million years, waiting for circumstances desperate enough to trigger its full expression. That accident on the dock, the hull breach, the explosive decompression, your body was dying. So the dragon woke up." Kai looked at his hands. The skin had a faint iridescent sheen now, scales just barely visible under the surface. "What am I becoming?" "Something extinct becoming something new." Zaravin pulled up a projection, showing his DNA actively rewriting itself. "The dragon genome is integrating with your human biology. You're not becoming a dragon. You're becoming what dragons might have evolved into if they'd had 65 million more years. The best of both species. Will it stop? Eventually, you'll stabilize into something unique. Enhanced strength, thermal manipulation, sensory acuity, far beyond human or dragon baseline. She paused. Mr. Morrison, you're effectively a new species. First of your kind since the Cretaceous. Kai felt heat building in his chest. Not anger, but something older. The genetic memory of wings that once blocked out the sun, of fire that forged mountains, of a species that refused to die even when the world ended. There's something else, Zyra said quietly. The retrovirus wasn't random. It targeted specific bloodlines, laid dormant through millions of generations. Your genome suggests you're not the only one. There could be others on Earth, dormant dragons waiting for the right trigger. Kai thought of his sister back home, who'd always run warmer than normal. His uncle who claimed he could taste metal in the air before storms. Cousins scattered across Earth, all with little inexplicable quirks that doctors dismissed. "Doc," he said, his voice carrying a resonance that hadn't been there before. "I think I need to make a call home." Outside the laboratory window, the stars seemed brighter, and Kai understood with sudden clarity why humans had always dreamed of wings.